Everyone will, thank you so much. We're gonna show me some grace, please. Good evening, everyone. We're excited to be here and we're going to go ahead and call to order our second Urban Forestry Commission meeting. Actually, now I'll turn it over to you. Can you go ahead and issue a roll call?
Yes, so commissioners, if you could just say present or here after I call your name. Xavier Bay.
Here.
Jose Hernandez had sent in that he will be absent today. Bernie Jackson.
Here.
Jennifer Kipp.
Here.
Daniel Lemon.
Here.
Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Lehman,
thank you. Samira Malone.
Here.
Sarah O'Keefe. I'm here. Gray Oleski.
Here.
Tom Schreiber.
Here.
Jenny Spencer.
Here.
Divya Sridhar.
Here.
Rick Switalski. And Roger had said that he would not be here. And I missed Mikhail Jean-Baptiste. He's also absent.
Right here.
Is here. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
All right, perfect. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon as we reconvene for our second Urban Forestry Commission meeting. I'm excited to sit alongside my very esteemed commissioners, and the commission proudly serves as an advisory capacity to assistance of the mayor, city council, urban forestry section of division of parks and maintenance and properties, and the city planning commission to ensure the many benefits that trees provide citizens to the city by recommendations. And so we have a very exciting and informative agenda prepared for you all this afternoon. And I look forward to us kind of going into deliberation and conversation. Before we transition over to our additional action, to our additional agenda items, I wanted to just raise a few housekeeping items. First and foremost, we wanted to make sure that we elevated to the commission some of our rules, specifically around making a motion or elevating a particular point, which we refer to as the point of order. So at any point during our commission meeting today, if anyone wants to raise a comment or question, please feel free to do so by first saying that you would like to raise a point of order. And then again, before we transition over to our agenda, I'd like to extend the opportunity to invite our newest commission member to introduce himself to the group, and then we can go ahead and jump into things. Thank you so much for being here today.
Is it okay if I sit down?
Absolutely.
Great. Hi, thank you. My name is Xavier Bay. I'm actually currently occupying the seat for the representative from city planning. Yeah, thanks. Nice to meet you.
And if you could share a little bit about what you're excited to bring to commission.
Yeah, so I'm actually, my role with city planning is I'm one of the senior assistant city planners for the zoning and technology section. So I'm just really excited to get into more intentional use and planning for our green spaces and trees in the public right of way. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, well, with that being said, I will actually now turn it back over to Secretary O'Keefe to do the approval of our minutes.
Okay, I call for an approval of the minutes. The minutes were emailed out to the commission about a month ago, and I did not receive any corrections. They are also posted publicly on our website, on the Urban Forestry Commission website. So I will call for a motion to approve the minutes as emailed. So thank you. Do I have a second?
One moment.
Oh, sure. Point of order.
Correction.
Oh, you did. I did not receive it. I apologize. What was your correction?
My job title in that minutes is recorded incorrectly.
Thank
Manager
you.
of Community Sports.
Manager of Community. I apologize. Did you email that to me? Okay.
We'll make sure to get that rectified.
Thank you.
Okay, with that correction, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. A second? Second, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right,
Let's
great.
stand
So
approved.
now that we have our meeting minutes approved, we can now move forward with unfinished business. During our last meeting, Vice Chair Jennifer Kipp made mention that she was finalizing a draft of our urban forestry rules and regulations. That draft was shared with our commission members for comment and feedback, in which we received some comment and feedback from commission member Councilwoman Jenny Spencer. And I wanted to actually go ahead and elevate those comments so we can have conversation. And then also this is open to the floor for anyone else to provide any additional comment or feedback on our rules and regulations. Everything sounds good? All right, so first and foremost, Councilwoman Spencer elevated that what is the process by which commission can establish a committee? This may be covered by Robert's rule, i.e. make a motion, second the motion, or majority vote. What is the committee composition? Can individuals who are not members of Urban Forestry Commission participate in committees? Would committees establish their own chair, vice chair, and secretary through similar structure to the overall commission? Finally, she would like to highlight that established committees highlight that any established committees is considered to be a working committee. As such, committees would meet at least once between each regular meeting of the commission. And then for Article 5, she made note that per these rules, we're meeting on the incorrect day for this quarter.
Those green liners were very much to do that.
And agendas must be posted 1 week ahead of time. As a heads up, I wanted to offer some additional comments in tandem to that and then open up the floor. So just responded back that absolutely, as it pertains to Article 6, we still have a lot of flexibility and openness in our rules and regulations about the formation of subcommittees. We left that open and flexible for our ability and adaptiveness to be able to create both subcommittees and ad hoc committees as needed. As far as composition of committees, from my knowledge, that is comprised of members who are a part of commission, but I also do defer to Sarah and Jen to give me further insight from city's processes when it comes to participants on subcommittees that are not appointees of commission. As far as establishing a structure within each subcommittee around the chair, vice chair, and secretary, I definitely believe that that's a great process for us to have, and we can explore that even more. And that's the reason why we want to open up the floor for comments as we're drafting our final rules and regulations. And then in regards to Article 5, we absolutely are a little bit in misalignment for this particular meeting, but moving forward, we will be having our meeting as identified in the rules and regulations on the second Tuesday of the first month of the quarter. So our next meeting will take place on July 11th, 2023. And we had a little bit of administrative oversight in sending out the finalized draft agenda. So we'll make sure that we have moving forward that sent out a week in advance, both to the public and to committee members. All right, so I'd like to open with that feedback. Thank you so much, Councilwoman Spencer, for providing those comments and questions around our rules and regulations. And I'd love to open up the floor for additional comment, feedback, or dialogue around the questions raised.
Chair, I can start if that's
Absolutely.
okay. I think that the agenda implies that we would be voting on the draft rules and regulations today.
Yes.
And so I did feel that the subcommittee section
Yep.
Did not contain particular guidance or detail. It was very high level. I think it's only one sentence long. I don't have it printed out right in front of me. So I think those questions, I'm not necessarily saying we should hold on approving the rules and regulations today. However, we may wish to offer an amended, so again, even though I'm on city council, I'm not an expert always in procedure either when it comes to Robert's rules and how this would all proceed.
Yeah.
I did think that clarity around the subcommittee part of the rules and regulations is very important.
Yes.
This is a mighty urban forestry commission, but it is a small urban forestry commission in terms of, there's a finite number of bodies here who could populate those subcommittees. So I don't know who would provide some of the guidance, whether it's the city's law department or another body in terms of subcommittee structure. Are there models from other urban forestry commissions? And then it's from, and I wasn't in front of my email today, and I really appreciate your response back, Chairwoman. to my comments on the rules, but if I'm kind of reading your feedback, it
Yep.
sounds like we do want to, this is more of a question for our executive committee, right, of our chair, vice chair, and secretary.
Yeah.
Because I think that subcommittees, we've already seen it, this is only our second meeting.
Yeah.
But we all know that once a quarter meeting for an hour and a half, you can't go very deep, right?
Yep.
So it seems like the subcommittees have particular importance.
Yeah.
So it sounds like is there discussion today about the suggestions for subcommittees?
Yeah.
Or do we want to gather those suggestions over the next quarter and vote on
Yeah.
them next time? So I think there's a number of interesting questions. I just think clarity in better, if we're all mutually clear on number of subcommittees, what they're about, their roles, functions, and responsibilities, I think that's the roadmap we need, because ultimately, I think that's where most of the substantive work, I would imagine, will occur.
Yeah.
We've leaned on you all pretty heavily as our new chairwoman, vice chair, and secretary so far to keep us, moving through this early forming phase of the commission. But I think the expectation would be that commission members will contribute substantially to the body of work.
Absolutely. We can raise and I can give comment too.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, just to comment on some of the points on the table is that we had a little bit of a discussion in our executive committee about subcommittees. And one of the discussion points that we had was forming them. Well, let's put it this way. At the moment, we have asked every single one of you commission members to join the Tree Commission Academy, which is an investment of your time already. And that is the work that we envisioned happening at the moment for the next, and Jennifer can jump in and go in detail more about it, but going into the forming stages and really making sure that we're all level setting, really understanding what it means to be a urban forestry commission, and then having the subcommittees formed by topic out of after that, and having that be potentially an amendment, as you're saying, like what do those subcommittees look like? We could get advice. So that would be my comment to that. I think that might be a good way forward to improve the rules and regulations with some of the adjustments, not the subcommittees yet, I would say, edits and figuring that out. But we could approve the rules and regulations today so that we can move forward on other pieces of business as a body, and then come back and amend for the subcommittees once we have a little bit more of a cohesive sense of what it means to be a part of a tree commission.
I think, I would, and I will posit that I think others may want to comment as well, but I think I would be comfortable voting on the rules and regulations today, knowing that we would have an amended, and I think this is very normal course of business, right? An amended set of rules and regulations that we would vote on in July. That more clearly stipulate the subcommittee structure, purpose, roles. And I would just be also curious, well, first of all, thanks very much for your guidance. I'm looking forward to participating in the Tree Commission Academy?
Yep, Tree Commission Academy.
I'm looking forward to participating in that. And I think a few of you have already, which is awesome. I'm joining in May. But I think that I would be curious for a little bit more discussion around, since we won't be convening again until July, in terms of collecting ideas from this body in terms of the types of subcommittees, whether through the experience at the Tree Commission Academy or elsewhere. What do we think our process might be to identify the committees?
I think a great use of our time. I think a great use of our time as well. So since we all should be at least going through freshman year of the Urban Forestry Commission Academy by July, I think it would be great for us to utilize July session to do some type of exercise, possibly to identify what the priorities are. And then we can use those priorities to identify what potential subcommittees could be. And like to reinforce kind of what Sarah said, our vision is to really create a baseline of education and understanding across all members, not only just what it means to be a commission member, but understanding the importance and process of not only our own ordinance and legislation within our municipal government, but also how that ties to Ohio Revised Code as well, and the supportive elements that we have from that. So I think, to your point, it would be really great for us to think through in our July meeting, and then maybe even continuing that conversation into our quarterly meeting following that, what those identified priorities could be before we get to the point of establishing subcommittees.
Can I ask one more clarifying
Yes.
question, which is there any member of the commission who will not have been, I know that a chunk did March.
Yep.
The 2-day March, and then I know that a few of us are doing May.
Yeah.
Is there anyone at this point that we know of who will not have completed the Tree Academy?
We have proudly gotten everyone registered. Oh,
It's important to note,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but this was just the freshman class, so
Yeah.
there's 4 parts to getting the certificate for Tree Commission Academy. So we would like for all of the members of the commission to participate in freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year in calendar year 2023.
Mhm.
And that is what is really going to set the stage,
Yep.
as my colleague said, for figuring out what those priorities are based on all the topics that are covered in the academy curriculum, if you will.
Okay, you just made my year look really different than I thought. This is awesome. It's 8 days.
It's an 8-day commitment.
Okay.
We
It's a big
understand it's a
commitment.
lot. Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
that's a big commitment. It's good to have that clarity. So then is the suggestion that we would not be in a position to form subcommittees until all members have completed freshman through senior level, the four series? Or do we feel that we're gonna be in a position, because I would just offer that if all of us have completed freshman level, by the end of May, maybe June would be a time for us to make suggestions to the leadership rather than coming in in July with a blank slate. I don't know, 'cause I'm not familiar with the Tree Commission Academy, and for as much as I've learned about urban forestry over the past 2 years, a long way to go. But just again, curious I think on some level, we're all anxious to be of use, right?
Yeah.
And to have an impact during our time on this commission. So really, again, wanting to understand best practice or recommendation for when we can look at
Yeah.
what subcommittees are needed.
No,
And I'm just, and I had the same discussion, and thinking about the same thing. I think
Yep.
subcommittees are a really great way to advance work. And the work that we see, the executive committee at the moment sees as being the commission members' work now is that dedication for the 8 hours. And then in the one thing that we discussed in the interim, after we have each completed the freshman year, if we have suggestions for an initiative or an initiative comes up that makes sense for us to address as a body, and I think suggesting an ad hoc subcommittee specific to that time-limited initiative might make sense to advance work. But because subcommittees are really a vehicle for us to advance work and not just have it be the executive committee, right? Making things happen. I don't know that it is fair to stand up standing subcommittees at the moment when we're also asking each one of you to commit to 8 days of Tree Commission Academy training.
Plus
And that's
homework.
where we're,
Plus homework.
plus homework.
Yeah.
And I think that was not clear to me either, that the Tree Commission Academy would be 8 days. I think that's maybe something that we need to go into, and it is part of our agenda today to discuss what that actually means and what that commitment is. So that was my suggestion, was to have an ad hoc committee suggested by any one of the commissions, a subcommittee, suggested by any one of the commission members to address a particular opportunity, for example, or initiative.
Yep.
And that's what I suggested, Jenny.
Thank you for the clarity.
Thank you. All right.
Is there any
Oh,
other, yeah,
Can I
Please.
raise another clarification for?
Yes.
Subcommittees have been something that have been of particular interest for me as well, for us to advance the work. And in light of that, could we get clarity on understanding if the subcommittee is made up only of the members of the commission here, or do we have an opportunity to bring capacity and resource and expertise from members on the outside? And
Yep.
if so, what would that process look like
Yes.
for us when we think through that?
Thank you so much for elevating that point, and I'm glad. I wanted to make sure that did not get lost in our conversation. So I actually would defer to you or Jen to kind of give some insight on maybe if you have some guidance from the legal department, what it means to bring people who are not officially appointed to commission into participation on working groups and things of that nature to, again, as elevated, provide capacity.
Thank you, Chair, and Divya for your comments as well. I'm happy to take the lead on that and
Thank you.
continue working with the person in our law department.
For guidance on that.
Yeah, for guidance, yes. Thank
So
you.
it sounds like there's still some open-endedness about that, so we can get further clarification from the law department what that process and procedure is, and then we can provide that as, on our next agenda item for July. Perfect.
Well, then I want to thank Councilor Spencer for raising that point about subcommittees. And thank
Absolutely.
the executive committee for providing some clarity on that.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right. So now that we've gotten a chance to take a look and have some discussion about rules and regulations, it sounds like we'd be potentially interested in moving forward with the option to do an amendment on the subcommittee section of our rules and regulations. Does it sound like I've captured that properly from everyone with moving forward with making a motion to vote on our rules and regulations today? Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, perfect. So what I would like to do is I would like to make a motion. Well, actually, I have to call somebody else. I would like somebody else to make a motion to approve our rules and regulations.
I make a motion to approve the rules and regulations.
Does anyone second that motion?
I second the motion.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. And then do we have to officially do all in favor, say aye for that particular
Yes.
Okay. So now that we have our first and second motion, I would like to make a motion I will call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. All right. Let's move over to our next order of business, which is new business. So now that we've concluded our discussion of old business, I would like to actually turn it over to Vice Chair Kip, who is going to provide us an overview of the Urban Forestry Department, which we have named Urban Forestry 101 to just further contextualize the work and function of her department and division. So I will go ahead and turn that over to her now.
Thank you, Chair Malone. Good afternoon, commission members. It's good to be with all of you. I might request next time for the room to be set up a little differently so I could look down and actually see Rick's smiling face. And Macau,
Instead of everybody.
everyone on the ends. So, all right, I got a thumbs up from Rick on that one.
Point of order.
Please.
Rick, apologies. I didn't see you come in. At what point did you come in the agenda, and did you just vote aye for the rules? Yeah. Okay, so rules and regulations you voted for, correct?
Yes.
Okay, the minutes you were not here for, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this actually was born out of a conversation with Councilmember Spencer, right? And so we met with the Commissioner of Park Maintenance, and after budget hearings, Councilmember Spencer wanted to get a better understanding of urban forestry in the city of Cleveland and what I do and what kind of program I run here. So thank you for that great idea, and I'm happy to bring this to the group today. So this again, could you go back to urban forestry, the first slide? I'm following along with my notes. Thanks, Britt. Appreciate it. This is basically to cover who we are in the city of Cleveland. It's very Cleveland specific. So what you'll find out as you go through Tree Commission Academy, you're going to get information about, in general information about urban forestry programs and municipal government operations. So this is Cleveland specific. Next slide, please. Thanks, Brett. So we'll review the organizational structure, can meet the team. I'll review the services that we provide, the trees that we manage, and who does the work. Next slide. Our mission, which I shared at the first Urban Forestry Commission meeting, is basically it's what gets us out of bed every day and keeps us moving and working together with this unified vision. We are here to promote trees as critical green infrastructure, essential for the well-being of our citizens and planet. We are here to protect existing trees and establish young trees to ensure their future contribution to positive health outcomes in our city. And we are here to reduce risk in the urban forest through pruning and removal operations. Next slide, please. This is our City of Cleveland high-level organizational structure. We have Mayor Bibb at the top. We have our Chief of Operations, Bonnie Tewen, our Director of Public Works, Frank Williams, being sworn in there on the right. The Commissioner of Park Maintenance and Properties in the purple shirt, that's Tony Scott. And then the Urban Forestry Manager, yours truly. Next slide, please. So taking a deeper dive into the structure of the urban forestry team, we have a manager, I have an assistant, I have a total of 4 field operations foresters, 2 at our west side location and 2 at our east side location. And under them are the tree workers. Their title in their union contract is Arborist 2. They are the supervisors or the foreman, if you will, and then Arborist 1. They are a non-supervisory position. The foresters are non-union workers. They are required to be ISA certified arborists. I'd like to also get them track qualified. I'm the only track qualified person on my team. I built the team of foresters. I recruited these folks, and I'm very proud of the skills they bring to the table. Each of them have a different area of expertise. I have a trees and construction specialist, a tree identification specialist, safety specialist, and a utility specialist. The foresters directly supervise our crews, our tree workers. There are currently 17 total between the Arborist 2s and the Arborist 1s in the city. There are 17 on my team. They are not ISA certified, and most of the folks have been with us for over 10 years. Next slide, please. So primarily our services that we provide, we are reactive mostly, meaning that we do not perform routine systematic tree maintenance. We are complaint driven, if you will. We remove trees, prune trees, grind stumps, grind roots for sidewalks, plant and establish new trees. We perform tree and site assessments, and we serve as 24/7, 365 emergency response. So all of you who live in this area have been with me and witnessed these really crazy wind gusts over the last 2 Saturdays in a row, and then more expected tomorrow. So we are the team who are responding all hours of the night to keep the roads, to clear the roads and sidewalks. Next slide, please. The trees we manage. We estimate that we have 90,000 street trees. So those are the trees between the curb and the sidewalk, as is shown in this picture. We use CityWorks for our work order management system, and our crews have tablets. And this is really huge for us. This is new for 2023, that our crews have tablets, and we have moved away from a paper-based operations to using technology to our advantage to be more efficient. So that has been wonderful. As of this afternoon, I checked CityWorks to see how many work orders we have for tree removal and tree pruning. We had 2,636 work orders in our system. We also manage vacant property trees. There are 18,000, approximately 18,000 city-owned vacant lots, 150 parks, cemeteries, rec centers, city hall, police, fire, any building that is owned by the city of Cleveland, and any tree that is on that property is essentially what we are responsible for taking care of. We are also, basically, if it's on city property, we're responsible for the maintenance of it. We also are tasked with, when we're out in the field, the foresters are the boots on the ground, essentially. They are assessing trees, so they need to be looking on other property that may not be city property for where is a predictable failure, because we have to protect our right of way.
Power back.
Next slide. Who does the work? My field operations foresters, they are the first responders for the city of Cleveland, those 4 that I was telling you about. And they are rock stars. My whole team is rock stars because without them, I would not be here. I would not be successful. So I really rely on them. We rely on each other to get the work done. They have to clear, the foresters have to clear the rights of way if it is something that's easy for them to manage, because they are out there on their own. They do have to follow all safety standards, of course. Our in-house crews, as I mentioned, we have 17 tree workers. I believe right now we have 3 vacancies. So once we have the vacancies filled, our operations will be at maximum capacity of 20 tree workers. We also rely very heavily on our contractors to get work done. Our current contract for tree removal and pruning services is with Van Kuren. Our current contract for tree planting and establishment is with Zscape, although we are going out. So we are going out to bid for a new contract for tree planting soon. And then anyone who holds a permit, Dominion Energy does work. They put in gas pipelines in the city. Sometimes they need to remove trees. So I issue a permit to their contractor. So basically, whoever has a permit does the tree work, in addition to my team. Next slide, please. In-house tree work. So this is what our trucks look like. So when you're out and about in the city of Cleveland, these are our tree crews, hard at work. We have our log truck. That is its sole purpose. That's why it's called the log truck. That is what it is meant to pick up our logs. It's a special piece of equipment for that purpose. The bucket truck on the bottom, that's the majority. That is 99% of the tree work we do is from a bucket. We prune 2,400 trees a year. We target road, sidewalk, and house clearance. So our standards for road clearance is 14 feet. Sidewalk clearance is 8 feet. Clearance from a structure is 10 to 20 feet from the house, depending on the frontage. We also have oak pruning season, which goes from November to March. And that is to reduce the risk of our mature oak trees contracting oak wilt disease. We do young tree training of newly planted trees as well. And that is an annual thing we do. Next slide, please. Contractor tree work. So this is dependent on capital funds. So the volume of work that we do in a year varies based on how much capital funds are allocated to our program. Their help is essential. There are some jobs that we cannot do. We need Van Kuren because they have different equipment than my team does. So that the help of our contractors is essential. They also do all of our stump grinding and all of our tree planting. They support private tree work through the Department of Aging CTAPS program, which stands for Cleveland Tree Assistance Program for Seniors. It's a great program. We manage it, and we manage the contract. And then the Department of Community Development for land bank tree emergencies. The picture of planting on the left there, that's DV tree planting trees on Erie side that were replaced. They had to remove some trees for the NFL draft in 2021. And as part of an agreement with the city, they replaced some trees. So again, that was all contractor work. Next slide, please. So this is not an exhaustive list of what we do, but these are additional focus areas. We hold weekly safety training sessions for our staff. And then pictured on the left there, that's on the job training. We had a 3-day intensive chainsaw training where we brought in a national group to refresh our chainsaw skills. That was at Impact Park. Tree work is one of the most dangerous jobs in the United States. So we take training safety very seriously. Like I said earlier, we manage tree programs for the Department of Aging and Community Development, and those programs are funded through grants. We review tree TPPs, that's tree preservation plans. So we review and comment on all the construction plans that come across my desk. and tree preservation plans as well that come across my desk. I do, like I mentioned earlier, I am the only track qualified person in the city of, on my staff. I'm the first one in Ohio, and it would be great to get my staff that training as well. So we're looking into that. But sometimes I do have to go out and do a risk assessment. I also issue tree permits from this computer. We run the project team for the 50/50 sidewalk program. So there's an image on the right-hand side that is a walk-behind stump grinder. That is the tool to use for grinding down roots when a flat compliant sidewalk needs to be replaced. And we try to do the least amount of damage to the roots as possible. My team runs that program as of last fall. It's getting ready to resume in the spring. I write specifications, manage contracts, address resident and council concerns. That's all part of our daily, in addition to daily advocacy for the preservation of trees. And then working with all of our partners in the community, the block clubs that are out there, attending board meetings that are scheduled through council, going on walkabouts with neighborhood groups, just Western Reserve Land Conservancy, Holden Forest, all of the folks at this table are essential partners in helping us accomplish our goals. Next slide, please. In summary, so we've got one urban forestry manager. I'm also known as the city forester. Those terms are interchangeable. I coordinate the planning and the logistics of my team. I'm tasked mostly with making sure that we run a very efficient operation, establishing productivity goals for my team and measuring them, making sure they're producing the way they need to produce, but also doing it in a safe way. Process development, implementation, and then serving as subject matter expert. My foresters also assist with that as well because of their strong background. They identify and prioritize work for the crews, supervise the crews, and in 2022, they performed 12,000 tree assessments. So that means that they put eyes on and walked 360 degrees around 12,000 trees, 12,000 city-owned trees. So they're really committed to the work that they do. Our 17 union arborists, they do tree work 12 months out of the year, 365 days a year, but they work in all kinds of weather. So we're not a seasonal operation. We're all year long, and they are an integral part of our success. And lastly, contractors also do the work, and they're critical in supporting us for work that we cannot do ourselves. And with that, next slide. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I had a question, Jennifer. Could you just talk a little bit about the Department of Aging and Community Relations work that you do? I wasn't aware that you guys did that.
Community development.
Community development, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Thank you.
So the Department of Aging has their own program called the CTAPS program, and it's to help our senior citizens with the cost of tree maintenance for their own privately owned trees, because it is a financial burden for many of our seniors. So they came up with this program, which I think is an awesome program, and it's funded through block grant funds, as is the community development program. So we get a pool of money, if you will, every year, and we know, okay, this is how much we have to spend for these seniors, and then we work and collaborate with the Department of Aging, and their team goes out and does the initial assessment. They're like the intake person meeting with the senior client, and once they've identified that there is a tree it has to meet certain criteria through an MOU. An MOU is signed every year. Yeah. And it has to be like basically a high risk tree or a tree that would be causing damage to their home. And then our foresters go out and they assess the tree for what it needs, addresses the complaint, and then marks it with either a red X if it needs to be removed or a green dot if it needs to be pruned. And then we give that work that our foresters identified, we give that work to Van Kuren to complete. Yeah. And it's, yes, CTAPS. So Cleveland Tree Assistance Program for Seniors.
That's
Nice.
really interesting. I did not know about that program. I just wanted to ask another clarifying question. So with the,
Okay, sorry.
but,
And then Divya had
oh,
one.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say. So
Okay.
with the annual budget that they allocate through the Community Development Block Grant, how many senior clients are they able to work with and provide assistance to their tree infrastructure issues?
Can I give you that number?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, great. Yes. Divya?
And just to follow up on that question, there's no financial transaction involved. There's no stipend given to the senior home for part of the process, but you will undertake the entire, tree removal or the tree management process for that unit. Is that correct?
To my knowledge, yes, the program absorbs the whole cost of the tree work. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
And then, back to your question about, did that answer it for community
Yes,
development? So it's,
yeah,
so
community
it's
development
block
is
grant money as well.
Okay.
We get, block grant funds to support community development. So they, but it only covers tree emergencies. So it's very limited funding. So we talked about, we have 18,000 city-owned vacant properties. They probably all have trees that need some sort of maintenance. So the pool of money from community development is just for emergencies. And so we manage the spend down, if you will, of that.
And that's on the vacant properties?
Land bank.
Land bank, thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
I had another clarifying question. I know you mentioned a few times throughout the presentation your track certification. Can you provide some clarity on that, just as to what that particular certification is?
Yeah, it's a qualification, which is a little bit
Yes.
different than a certification. A certification would require like CEUs.
Yeah.
And a qualification is you have to retake the entire program essentially.
Yeah.
I think it's every 5 years. So it stands for Tree Risk Assessor Qualified. And I received mine in 2012. It didn't used to be an International Society of Arboriculture program. It was specific to the Pacific Northwest chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had a great program, and the ISA, the international organization, said, we'd like to, take it and run with it. We think it's a great program. And so they took it from a certification from one chapter and then expanded it internationally and made it a qualification. And so since I got mine in the Pacific Northwest in 2012, before the program was even track, then I was grandfathered in when it became track. And then I have repeated my qualification twice now since 2012.
Thank you for that clarification.
If I can ask you one more question.
Yes.
This is about the 50/50 sidewalk program. Can
Sure.
you talk a little bit about the 50/50 sidewalk program and what it takes, what level of care and repair goes into that?
Okay. I almost might want to call on my colleague Rick Spitalski to talk about the 50/50 program because we work closely together.
Okay.
His team and my team work, and with DOS. So there's like three departments working together. It's MOCAP, BNC, Division of Streets, Urban Forestry. Rick, am I leaving anyone out? Okay.
It's a parallel, TDS program's parallel to 50/50 different players. Parallel though, because it basically is doing the same thing, but with different funds. When you talk about 50/50, Finland 50/50 program, most people are not familiar with the city of Cleveland. The city established it a long time ago through ordinance that the city and the resident will split the cost of the sidewalks there, because by ordinance 505-11, the responsibility to keep the sidewalk in good repair falls to the resident of that home, that building, so forth, so on. But for the residents, not the business owners, but only for residents, the 50/50 sidewalk program is applicable to them. And it comes through, as Jennifer said, we administer it through the engineering construction, urban forestry, division of streets. We used to do it through what was called a requirements contract, but the price got so outrageous, we went to, well, I hope I'm not just buzzing past anyone, I apologize if I am. Requirements contract is what the city uses. It's basically a tool chest of many type of items, construction, that we can use and have a contractor then the items we want. Contractor then performs those items and there's a set price for them.
Okay.
So we use those items to do the 50/50 program, the TDS program through 2022. The price for the pruning, which was traditionally a buck per incident, a unit, went to $1,600 per unit, which made the cost quadruple many, many times. It became essentially unaffordable for a resident to then utilize the 50/50 program. Chief Tijuana said, let's work together internally to make this now an in-house thing that we do, which then made it even more affordable for people to utilize. Hope I caught it up there.
Did that answer the question?
Yes, and then can I have a follow-up to that?
Of course.
And the follow-up to that is if a route is causing the sidewalk to buckle,
Mhm.
what kind of what kinds of efforts are undertaken to make sure that the tree doesn't continually create that sidewalk problem, but also that we're maintaining the tree?
That's a great question. So what are we doing when we replace the sidewalk to make sure it doesn't become non-compliant again or raised again in the future? So I think we have a couple ideas, and one of them is, again, working with Rick and his team to take some of the research that's out there, where we want to see how can we, when we're putting in the new sidewalk, is there something we can do to change in our contract specifications for the concrete work, something they can do there that's going to deter the root from growing again in that same direction. So there's that part of it. I believe Dr. Tom Smiley has research out on that. He's out of Bartlett Tree about here are some different ways, different methods you can use to deter roots from regrowing in that way. The other thing is we just have to be, so the roots, unfortunately, have to be ground sometimes. We don't sever them, we grind them so that at least they're still maintaining some structural stability, but we have to make those calls sometimes. And we do sometimes have to remove a tree when so many roots are lost or damaged that then it becomes unstable. So I don't know if that answers your question.
That is.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're always looking for creative ways
Yeah.
to do both, to get our sidewalk compliant and keep the tree. But of note, the tree is supposed to outlive the sidewalk.
But if I can add just one thing to that, Jennifer knows her passion, everybody here is trees, a passion I also have is for handicapped folks and those who have to have ADA compliant sidewalks that they can then enjoy the walk amongst the trees, get to schools, get to churches, get to stores. So we're always trying, we have to by law be ADA compliant. We're trying to work very closely to make sure what we're doing not only protects the tree, keeps the tree, but is ADA compliant. And we have to get that done too. We've got some things now, we have, when trees have roots that need a little bit more room, if we would prune them, we would lose a tree. We now have an ordinance that gives us carte blanche ability to get easements without going back to council every time we need one. We can just go and ask for one. That person gives it, we can put a sidewalk on private property.
And you work
We're
with the
allowed-
private property owner to put that easement, you ask the private property owner,
They
right?
don't have to agree, but they do,
You have the option.
we have that tool.
Gotcha.
Instead of going back each time and going to council, which takes a long time to go to various committees to get something done, we don't have that carte blanche. Just utilize it.
Yeah, that's a lot of trees.
Have you used that easement?
We did, we did go a couple of months ago, then we'll just pass it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
great.
we have not used it yet.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for the comments. I want to make sure that we're keeping up with time and moving along with the agenda items, but I just wanted to add to that conversation. I'm excited to see what innovations and infrastructure come out of the Complete and Green Street ordinance to support and complement this work. So moving along, I would love to now turn it over to kind of provide a little bit of overview on our experience for the first session for the ODNR Tree Commission Academy. I would like to turn it over to my fellow commission member, Dan Lehman, to give us an overview. So Dan, go ahead and feel free to take it away.
Yeah, so I brought some highlights with me regarding what we learned at the Tree Commission Academy. And I'll let you know that it really was worthwhile. And at first I didn't know what it was going to be. I had no idea. I was just showing up. But I will tell you, I received some really strong encouragement from Jennifer. And I'll read the email, a part of it. We really can't stress enough how important this class is for laying the foundation for urban forest success. And our course is immeasurable. And so when I received the email, I thought I need to go, and I did on Saturday. Give you some overview of it. It's prepared specifically for Ohio Tree Commissioners. So not only was it representatives from the Food and Tree Commission there, but we also have representatives from Fairview Park, Bay Village, Avon Lake, and there were other people mixed in as well. That was the website. You'll have a probably different experience over on the east side. It's provided and supported by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, Division of Forestry, Regional Urban Foresters, and it's well done. It received an award, the Arbor Day Foundation 2010 Innovation in Education Award winner. Honestly, I thought, well, maybe I'll win an award. But honestly, it really was nicely done. So we heard about this before. We have a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior sessions. I didn't know that either going in. So each one is 2 days. It's all day. You have a pre-test for each section, post-test. And so you can kind of judge your own learning, which I thought was impressive. And then we went over ordinances, tree biology, urban forestry, scheduling, etc. And I'll just touch upon just a little bit of each section. So on the ordinances, so we did review the Ohio Revised Code, and one of the things that I learned about that was really how responsible the city is for the trees and city property and liability. And if you have a good system in place, liability can be mitigated. But in Western Ohio, there was a case it was a sidewalk situation where they did some work on a sidewalk, cut some roots, the tree fell on a young family, and not only did they die, but the city was liable for that. So how we take care of the sidewalks and how we assess the trees is important and impactful. We learned about the anatomy of the tree. She described how we learned in 1 hour, or maybe I learned all this, but in 1 hour she reviewed what she learned in a semester in college. So, but it was very good background, and we spent a lot of time learning about really how important the root structure is, and if you don't have good roots, your trees could be at risk for falling. But at the same time, if you don't have enough space for the roots to grow, they're not going to be long enough to be very successful. We talked about Ohio Urban Forestry Resources, that they're really here for us. There are 6 regions in the state, and their focus is on cities really across Ohio, and we're one of them. They talked about the benefits of urban forestry, and we kind of know about that in essence, but in terms of how we live, it increases occupancy rates and property values, safety. So you have that area, but you also have natural resources like it absorbs water and improves the air quality, etc. So that's very worthwhile. And then what we also learned, we talked about pruning, how important pruning is of certainly very young trees, but also mature trees. And they recommended every 5 or 6 years going into a tree and making sure that any risk limbs at risk should be removed. And it's really proactive, as you described, as reactive sometimes. So those are my themes for today. And our next class in Fairview is in June. So we have 2 days scheduled in June, and I'm looking forward to that.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Dan.
you so much, Dan. Thank you for providing that in-depth overview. I was able to attend at least session 1, but I'll actually be reconvening with the rest of the group in May to retake the day 2 that I was unable to attend. So I'm really looking forward to those who have not participated yet. There was definitely a wealth of knowledge that was taken away in understanding both the biologies of streets, but also the structure and also state support of our Urban Forestry Commission. So really looking forward to everyone participating. Thank you again.
Could I ask a quick question? Who's in the May class? Do you mind raising your hands because I'm also
going again.
the May. Oh, you're going again.
I'm going. I'm an
Okay,
alumni,
great.
I get to go again.
All right. All right, thanks. I look forward to that too.
And there were 2 more in attendance that aren't here today.
Yep. Fantastic. So, well, since we have
I have
now,
a question
Oh,
here.
yeah.
No problem.
absolutely.
In terms of the subsequent sophomore, junior, senior training, is it possible, it sounds like the trainings fill up.
Mhm.
And I know I have some conflicts later in the year, so to
Yeah.
make sure, I think it's a really important takeaway from today that the expectation is completing this within this
Yes.
calendar year.
Yes.
Is it possible to enroll in the subsequent, do you have to complete the first freshman session in order to enroll for subsequent, or can you sign up and just at least have them on your calendar? You know how that works, and would we work through Jennifer or through ODNR directly to sign ourselves up? for lack of a better word?
Yeah.
So we, at the end of the freshman class, you will select, that class as a group will select your dates for your sophomore year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's no ability at this time, to schedule them out for the year, but I don't know why they wouldn't be agreeable to consider that. So if you'd like, I can reach out to staff or
Yeah.
Matt, our new regional foresters, Matt Lyden, and I can ask if that would help folks at the table to kind of have those dates solidified. Okay, I'm getting a lot of nodding. So,
Yeah.
okay.
And, so then is the expectation that you're in a cohort, that the first group that you've gone through with?
Yes.
So that may also be, it's a great idea in theory, but maybe a little bit challenging in practice. So I think, again, just understanding how
Yeah.
they do it.
Sure.
And are you allowed to join another cohort if you can't make the date of your?
Yeah.
You absolutely are.
Yeah.
Now, you
That's
can-
that's
You're gonna join.
That's actually
join.
exactly what I'm doing. I had a conflict. I
Yeah.
attended last week, and then I had a conflict where I couldn't attend the second day. So I'm coming back and participating again in May. So there definitely seems to be a lot of flexibility in which cohort you can participate in, but we can get further clarity and report that out to you all.
And you can go to ours, and in theory, I can go to Euclid's.
Yeah.
You know, so this is flexible.
You just have to attend in succession. So you can't do sophomore
Can't
without,
skip.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, and just to add to this potential question, if it sounds like the tree commission academies that we've been attending and signed up for were really imagined for other cities. I don't know if I'm wrong about that, but there's Fairview Park and there's Euclid. Could we have a Cleveland session like the
Yes.
junior? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I know that Steph had mentioned a while back that she was interested in hosting one in Cleveland, so we can actually work with her.
Well, there are 15 of us who could potentially go to the junior version, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, and with that in mind, I know like the senior is really working on a project.
Okay.
And so it might be some value for us to be on a project together, really, all of us.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think that,
Okay.
especially moving forward in senior.
I feel like we're taking all of Jen's talking points because she has some talking points.
No, I'm glad you did. I think we covered it. Yeah, so it's a two-day commitment for each year of academy, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, and then expect homework, although the homework is not freshman homework. I can't remember what we did for the other years. Freshman homework is probably going to take a few hours. So just so that everybody is aware of kind of what the expectations are. So, and the homework you can do either solo or with your commission members. It's not dependent on that.
Mhm.
So I'll volunteer again to reach out to our new regional forester, Matt Lyden, see if we can get some flexibility for scheduling it out for the year. And then also if Cleveland can host.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for providing that clarity on timeline and process when it comes to, and we'll get some of those clarifications as mentioned and share them out with the rest of the group. Are there any other questions or comments before we proceed forward in the agenda? All right, perfect. So it looks like we have gotten to the point where we would like to transition and open the floor for public comment. So as advised by the city.
Announcements?
Oh,
Did I
we
skip
have public
ahead?
comment first on mine.
Yeah,
Did
we
it
have
accidentally-
Online is- I might have first.
Oh,
Okay. Okay, perfect. We're gonna do public announcement, public comment and then announcements afterwards. Thank you for catching that. So we would like to open the floor for public comment. As advised in the City of Cleveland's procedures for public comment document, all speakers looking to provide public comment must pre-register 5 minutes prior to the start of any meeting. And then we have a few points to just reference. There should be no more than 10 speakers that are speaking for one collective issue at one time. The speakers have no longer than 3 minutes. Speakers shall address the topic they registered to speak as stated in their registration form. Speakers shall not use indecent or discriminatory language. Speakers shall address the council as a body and may not address any individual commission members or other person. Speakers shall not engage electioneering for any candidate or specific ballot issue. Speakers shall not endorse or promote any product or service. And while speaking at the podium, speakers shall not wear anything that promotes any candidate, campaign, issue, product, or service. This includes but not limited to visible logos, slogans, messages, and words. All right, so we do not have any official public comment today. Unless we have anything did anyone sign in?
I did submit.
You submitted one last night online? Do you have? Okay. Let's get that clarified.
Thank you. And while we're waiting for Brittany to submit in by, what was your name? Cassandra.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Just a note that the last few comments that Chair Malone just read through, I don't believe are posted on our website, but they are regular city procedures, and we will have them posted. They are the procedures for the public comment at Cleveland City Council as well. Same.
Has anyone thought, or has any thought been given to potentially banning or blacklisting the tree companies that do straw trimming work for utilities? In some cases with taxpayer money, they end up requiring the city to remove the affected trees. For instance, Van Kuren Tree Services hacked away at trees so badly on Monroe Avenue in Ohio City back in 2018 that the trees ended up having to be removed. And yet, I read on social media from a friend just earlier today, April 3rd, that Van Kuren is on her street in Tremont hacking away at trees. With such an already critically dwindling canopy, I really feel that there needs to be more accountability as to whom the city either hires or allows to be hired / gives permit approval to, so that we won't keep losing trees to clearly substandard work.
And those will be, the public comment will be recorded in the minutes for today's meeting as well.
Well, I'd like to give floor and open to my colleagues over here at the city to kind of give the initial response to public comment. Do we want to give an initial response? Yes.
My memory actually didn't serve me as well as I thought it did, because I actually would have asked him, if I remember correctly. When we asked him, but tax away those trees in our house, but I do know that Van Kuren does equally shoddy work. So
Yeah.
my first-
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Asplun, ASPLUN. DUEH. Thank you. And so as that's public comment to the entire commission, that is something that we can address as a commission.
Okay, fantastic. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for raising that comment. And as we talked about during the presentation, there's quite a deal of the work that does get subcontracted out. And I know that in speaking with my colleagues up here from the city, that there has been internal discussion about the potential of bidding out some of the work that happens in forestry, but I don't want to overstep in my speaking because I'm not too entrenched in the work of working with independent contractors. But I would love to just kind of like pin it there and see if anybody else has comment or response to the question.
I do have a question, which is, and so to our vice chair, to Jennifer, it's my understanding that the city's pruning contractor is specifically related to overhead wires. That I want to first clarify that statement that your in-house crews can't prune around electrical wires, and therefore that is the specific purpose of the pruning contractor. The pruning contractor doesn't complete work that the city crews can do. It completes work specifically around electrical wires. I first want to get that. Is that an accurate statement?
Partially. Partially accurate, yeah. So sometimes their equipment can reach higher in the tree than our team.
Okay.
So it's just based on what the operational necessity is. And they have qualifications that my staff doesn't have in terms of their ability to work around power lines. And so I know Bernie, being Kieran has a contract with CPP, and that is just for line clearance. That is just, they are there for the wires, not the tree. Is that accurate, Bernie? Okay, and being Kieran on my contract is there for the tree. They're gonna do, the house clearance, the road clearance, and structural clearance. So those are the key differences. So same contractor, but two different scopes of work, if you will.
So I think it's important for us just to contextualize in regards to the public comment that Van Kuren is currently a contractor of the city of Cleveland, both under the Division of Urban Forestry and under Cleveland Public Power. And so just to further clarify, the Cleveland Public Power pruning contract is, unless I'm mistaken, again, typically not reactive, it's anticipatory. So it's, I don't know what year cycle it might be on, but every X number of years, there's a set of guidelines. And again, this is a big learning curve for us all, everybody. And I am the first to admit I'm on a learning curve with all of this.
Yeah.
But there are certain, not guide, but regulations, I guess, about how far to cut back and how to do this, but it's on a regular cycle, whereas Jennifer's contract would be more if there is a complaint has come in about a tree that's near a wire. Is that accurate?
That's pretty accurate. But normally what happens, we have problem areas. Trees going constantly grow. And we don't trim back to 5 years. It's usually there's a amount of years that utility, when they have a contract to go through. Because we're city brand, most definitely we out for our customers along with our residents. So when we have Van Kuren go to an area that is heavy tree, that is in the primary, they are asked to trim back. Sometimes people may not like it, but we don't do it where it's so clear that it doesn't touch a wire for 5 to 6 years. Mm-hmm. So we have Van Kuren go, we have to go back more often in utility because we're not trying to have. When we have an issue, like the storms that came through last couple of weeks, we find problem areas because this is the end that we have to look at is tree takeout, some power lines. We're having problems with Old Brooklyn area or anything or Hollywood because it's a lot of backyard lines. That's when we have Van Kuren go into those areas to clear out every problem. To make sure that CPP is fine. But still, at the end of the day, we still want them to have a healthy tree. I've worked with them for some years. We have our own tree. We have, and I think we should just try to clear the lines so that we can have lines. And not to that actually thing.
Yeah. So the only other point I would make is because the same, and I know that these contracts go out for bid, but and I'll wait to see. I think, Jennifer, I don't want to,
I'm sorry.
no, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because these contracts go out for bid and the same contractor has successfully won bids both from Public Power and Division of Urban Forestry, I think that there is an increased level of scrutiny maybe into their practices if there is any cause for concern. I did hear from my council colleague, Jasmine Santana this week, there was some concern not only about the actual trimming practices, but about the behavior of the workers. So looking forward to learning more about bidding process and if Big Here has their optimal contractor given current practices.
So I would just like to just offer additional comment at the next meeting, because there are several players, right? It's not only CPP, First Energy owns a large amount of the overhead utilities. Asplund, as Cassandra pointed out, that was their contractor involved in the Monroe tree utility clearing there. So there's definitely some room for additional education about what practices are acceptable for ANSI, who is doing the work, and who is supervising the work. So I'd like to offer more comment next time on that.
Well, I just
The discussion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just wanted to offer additional comment that I think this is good discussion, and I appreciate you for raising this for public comment. As Councilwoman Spencer mentioned, we all have a great deal of learning curve in learning these different procedures and processes, especially when we're talking in regards to some of the subcontracted work. So I really appreciate the dialogue that we just had. And I want to also offer up that we're gonna have some additional time to formally respond to public comment following the meeting. So thank you so much again for raising that. I appreciate it. And if there isn't any other public comment that has been noted, we can go ahead and move forward in the agenda line. Perfect. So moving forward from public comment, we'd like to transition over to announcements. We have a few announcements that we'd like to share with the commission and the public. So I will actually go ahead and turn it over. Well, I can start it off, and then Jen, you could talk a little bit more specifically about the Arbor Day events that's happening through the city of Cleveland. So the city of Cleveland is a Tree City USA city. So that means we have a series of celebrations and events to honor Arbor Day on an annual basis. From the position of the coalition, we are going to be marketing a series of events that are going to be happening throughout the city of Cleveland. So many of our partners are going to be doing either tree plantings, tree education, a myriad of different activities. And so we'll make sure to communicate and send out those marketing materials, not only with the commission, but also all of our coalition members to just get folks to come out and participate. And then there's going to be some specific partnership events around Arbor Day that Jen can speak a little bit more from the city side.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chairman Malone.
Thank you so much, Chair, Vice Chair Kip.
So yeah, so I'm excited to announce an event at League Park on actual Arbor Day. I know sometimes we do Arbor Week, which is fantastic, with all of our partners all just rallying around trees and greening the planet. So we are partnering with Holden Forest and Gardens to plant a Jesse Owens oak tree at League Park on Friday, April 28th, and those details will be forthcoming. I will absolutely share them with the commission members and the public, of course, as Sam said, through the coalition.
Yep.
And we are also, my tree crews generate a lot of wood chips, and so we'd like to put those wood chips to good use. Yeah, I see a big smile on your face. So instead of putting them in a landfill sometimes, we will be dropping off wood chips at League Park and then asking volunteers to put the wood chips around the young trees at League Park to give them a better chance of thriving and keep the mowers and string trimmers away from the trunks. So that's excited. I'm excited to get out and get my hands dirty.
That's great to hear. I actually have a follow-up question for the wood chips, because I know I've had a few partners reach out to us about acquiring materials for their tree plantings. Is there enough to kind of possibly share with any other events that are happening during Arbor Day? We can, of course, also talk offline about that, but I would love to just raise that because there have been some partners who have reached out.
For Arbor Week?
For Arbor Week, yeah.
For Arbor Week events? Let's talk off.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, it's great to hear that we're going to have a reuse of our wood chips and promote that circular economy when it comes to our trees. And so I wanted to go ahead and turn it over to Secretary O'Keefe. I have to get used to using the formal.
Yes, it's a formal.
Secretary O'Keefe to talk about the Decarb Summit.
Mhm.
Oh, did you want to talk about Tree City? I'm sorry, I jumped the line.
No,
Thank you.
Yeah, just, we're also just excited to announce that we are Cleveland, for its 43rd consecutive year, are a Tree City USA. That is an awards program through the Arbor Day Foundation. And the criteria is part of the curriculum for Tree Commission Academy. I think it's covered in freshman class. But to qualify for the program, your city has to have a tree commission, a tree ordinance, an urban forestry program where you spend at least $2 per capita, and an Arbor Day event with a mayoral proclamation. So that's the criteria in a nutshell. It's an annual application. It's due the first Friday, I think, in December. And so we have been able to maintain our status as a Tree City for 43 years. The award ceremony is in Beechwood in September, and those details will also be forthcoming. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so one other announcement is that it's also Earth Month here in April, and Earth Week is the week of the 17th through the 22nd, give or take a few days. 22nd is Earth Day. Our celebration actually for the city of Cleveland is going to culminate in our Decarbonization Summit, which is April 13th. The public convening part of that session from 8:30 to 11:45 still has some seats available. So we have it posted online at sustainablecleveland.org. And I know a number of commission members are already registered for that, and we will be announcing or confirming afternoon sessions if you're already registered later this week. Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much for
I'm
those
excited. I'm
announcements.
going.
Thank you so much for those announcements. And for the final announcement, I just want to elevate to the group that UFC is still looking for a youth appointee. So the application still is housed on our website. And if you have any youth that you are aware of who would like to participate as a commission member, we're really excited to invite them as part of our group. And so please feel free to share this news out with your networks. We're still looking for an appointee. So if you feel free to contact me, Jen, or Sarah, if you have any candidates that you'd like to recommend. Perfect. So if there aren't any, so since we finalized our announcements, I'd like to go ahead and move forward to our closing remarks. Just a little order of business, our next meeting will take place on July 11th from 4 to 5:30 p.m. That will begin to set our cadence to move forward with making sure that our meetings fall in alignment with the rules and regulations. So all of our meetings will now moving forward be taking place on the second Tuesday during the first month of the quarter. We have received quite a few suggestions for meetings, and we want to make sure that we are addressing those, particularly after all of our commission members have gone through the ODNR Tree Commission Academy. We talked about a few of them today, like introducing the idea of subcommittees and things of that nature. So I look forward to us continuing that dialogue as we are both in tandem figuring out what our priorities are as a commission, as well as going through that formal training of the Tree Commission Academy. So if there isn't any other additional remarks that anyone would like to raise, thank you, Councilwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to note that in a way to mark our second meeting as a commission, the council office, my office, is hosting an informal reception after tonight's meeting. We are a collection of individuals who really haven't gotten to know each other yet. We just met for the first time months ago, and now we're meeting many of us for the second time in our lives today. And I think we all have personal stories, and we all have a lot going on in our lives, and it's just a chance to get to know one another informally. That the reception will be held in the council office in room 220 immediately following this the conclusion of this meeting. I would recommend that for those of you who can attend, and I hope you can. You can stay as long as you want, but I recommend that we go down as a group, because the council office door, I can use my tag to get us through. Once you're in, you're in. But it is, like anything this commission does, that it's also public. So anyone who's here in this room can also participate in that reception. But again, there's no agenda to it. There is no formal business being conducted. It's really a chance to enjoy each other's company and hear about our personal lives and ask, each other, I think, really intriguing questions about what makes us passionate about the urban forest. So I hope to see you all there.
Yes, and we want to extend a special
you.
thanks to Councilwoman Spencer and her team for facilitating this opportunity for us to just spend time with each other, get to know each other. Like you said, many of us, this is our first time meeting with each other for the second time. Many of us are familiar faces, but really looking to bridge that gap and as we strengthen our alliance as a commission. So without further ado, I'd like to call to order the adjournment of this meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the tree commission meeting, urban forestry commission meeting.
Yes, does anyone second that motion?
I second the motion.
Thank you so much.
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.